Doamnelor, domnilor, dragi telespectatori, eu sunt Elena Guțu, vă salut de această dată într-un interviu în exclusivitate pentru TVR Moldova. Astăzi vorbim despre o zi cu o încărcătură emoțională specială, vorbim despre Ziua Recunoștinței și avem onoarea să vă salutăm de la reședința excelențelor sale Michel și Kent LOGSDON, ambasadorul Statelor Unite în Republicii Moldova. Vă spunem bună ziua!
Bună ziua!
Bună ziua!
Ne bucură enorm acest interviu. Este poate o formă să ne manifestăm și noi recunoștința, pentru că chiar și în vremuri dificile, Ziua Recunoștinței este acel moment, acea zi care i-a făcut pe americani să se adune în pofida la orice împreună și să manifeste recunoștința pentru toate lucrurile bune, pentru toți oamenii buni. Și de aici poate vă întrebăm, dumneavoastră, în acest 2023, care sunt acele lucruri frumoase, acele lucruri bune pe care le-ați trăit aici în Republica Moldova și poate pentru care manifestați recunoștință?
Well, Thanksgiving Day is always a special holiday for us, for our families, for our friends. We will celebrate here in the Republic of Moldova with friends. In the United States, if we were home, we would be celebrating with family members. So we'll have a very special opportunity to bring friends together who are all separated from our families, and we'll be enjoying all the traditions of Thanksgiving here this year.
Ați menționat și poate ați accentuat despre faptul că este o sărbătoare a familiei. Vă întrebăm pe dumneavoastră, Excelența doamna LOGSDON, de fapt, cum arătau aceste sărbători de familie în Statele Unite ale Americii, poate până la acea etapă în care ați îmbrățișat și dumneavoastră, dar și soțul dumneavoastră această carieră de diplomat?
Normally it would be certainly our parents. My parents we're very lucky, they're still with us. They're 92 and 94. They just celebrated their 72nd anniversary. So we would have them with us for sure. Sisters and brothers, nieces and nephews, all the cousins get together and play games. One of the big traditions, if I can talk about it, is in families sometimes you get together and you play American football. You get all dressed up during the day and you go out and you play a game against each other, the boys against the girls or the old folks against the young folks. It just depends, but that's a pretty traditional thing to do on a Thanksgiving afternoon.
And overseas, and when we've been diplomats, we've had to change a little bit because, of course, as I mentioned, we don't have our families with us, but we have friends who become like our families. And sometimes it's other Americans that we like to share our day with, and sometimes it's friends who are Moldovans, for example, here, who we might be able to share some of the traditions with. Another thing we do every year is we always invite the English language teaching assistants through our Fulbright program. They'll come for a special Thanksgiving dinner this weekend with us, so we can say thank you to them for coming to the Republic of Moldova.
Care este energia pe care o simțiți de la oamenii Republicii Moldova de la prima zi de mandat până în prezent?
It's been an amazing 2 years, almost 2 years now.
I can't believe it's been 2 years. It's gone so fast.
We've been here in Moldova. The energy, the enthusiasm with which people to think about their country, think about their families, think about their hometowns. It's really been nice to see, and we've been able to travel all around the Republic of Moldova and able to meet so many people and hear about their enthusiasm for the future, their optimism, the looking towards Europe, the exciting news of course, last year, the EU candidate status, and then this year, already the recommendation to begin accession talks, which we hope will be soon confirmed. So there's a lot of exciting things that are going on, and I think a lot that people in Moldova can be grateful for as well.
Mulțumim și în același timp ne întrebăm care este pentru cultura americană semnificația acestei zile, Ziua Recunoștinței?
Someone's always cooking, and that's usually me, but people do help in the kitchen, so that's pretty much the tradition, that there's many people in the kitchen because, as we say, many hands make the work go quickly. So we do that. The other thing that a lot of Americans do, and I love, it's a silly thing, but we have this big parade in New York City that is hosted by the Macy's department store. It's been going on for over 100 years. And we get up in the morning and in our pajamas still and eat breakfast, and we watch the Macy's Day Parade, which is marching bands and big, huge balloons and performers from Broadway all marching through New York City. It's a really fun tradition.
Ziua Recunoștinței, credeți că ar putea fi adoptată poate în mod similar sau cu anumite diferențe și în Republica Moldova?
I think it's what you could really use, and when you think about the day of Thanksgiving in Moldova, is I think all of us are grateful for the blessings. We have many challenges, and it's certainly been a challenging few years for the people of Moldova here. But I think what we've learned is that people are also grateful for the good things that have come, the ability to be resilient, to come back from crisis, to come back from difficulties. It's the same for Americans. How to be resilient, how to be grateful for the good things that happen in your life. I think that we've seen also how Moldovans have taken in so many Ukrainian refugees this past year, with 100,000 refugees here. And we've seen this amazing outpouring of goodwill and being hospitable to so many people, now nearly 100,000 people here. So I think that's also something that you could say we should be grateful for, and that Moldovans are grateful for, that we can thank them and thank all of each other for helping take care of these people who've needed help, who've needed support.
And what Thanksgiving teaches us is the more we do for others, the happier and better off we are. And that Moldovans show that every day.
Pentru că ați adus în discuție crizele momentului, poate, care sunt acele lecții de solidaritate pe care le-ați văzut și le-ați trăit aici, în Republica Moldova, inclusiv de la cetățenii Republicii Moldova în această perioadă?
So the lessons, you mean, of what Thanksgiving, and I was just saying, it really is that when you go out of your way to help someone else, it makes you feel better, it makes you happier, and you find joy in other people's success. It's the golden rule.
Mulțumim. În același timp, ca un exercițiu, cum ar putea recunoștința să servească drept punte culturală între Statele Unite ale Americii și Republica Moldova?
I think it's not so much a cultural bridge as it's something that we all share. We actually both already do it, Americans and Moldovans. I think about many of the places that we've been to visit. I think about smaller towns, but also bigger towns and the city. People come together, they're grateful for their ability to come together. And remember, that's what Thanksgiving is really all about. American Thanksgiving came from the new explorers coming to the New World who found the native people there, and they helped those new explorers who were coming to America. They helped them with food and with bringing them together, and they survived the first winter, and they were grateful for that. And so I think all of us see that here. It's not so much a bridge, it's almost a unity, that we both share this. We just happen to have a day called Thanksgiving Day. I think that happens so often here in Moldova, that people do come together. They're grateful for coming together. You could almost say that every Moldovan wedding in any village is almost like a Thanksgiving celebration.
Yes.
The families come together.
together.
They eat way too much. They spend a lot of time together, and they really enjoy themselves and stay up very late every night. So it's the same idea.
De ce este important ca să manifestăm acest sentiment al unității, al recunoștinței în fiecare zi?
The lesson of Thanksgiving, I think for all of us it is just what we say, it's being grateful.
Yeah. But it's also finding time to stop and enjoy your family and your close friends, because we get really busy in life. We work too hard. We
Too true.
we go too fast, and if you can just take time to sit at a table and enjoy each other's company and talk to each other and break bread and drink a glass of wine together, that's really the most important things in life.
Care credeți că ar fi un exemplu concret sau o experiență personală pe care poate ați trăit-o, ați observat-o în această putere a recunoștinței de a consolida relații acolo în Statele Unite ale Americii?
It's a great question. I think Thanksgiving often is a day when, first of all, people stop what they're normally doing. Just as Michelle mentioned, they sit with friends and they sit with families. And oftentimes in a lot of communities in the United States, even if there are differences between people, they will come together. an important thing that a lot of Americans also do, besides play football and bring the family together, is many people will go and volunteer at a food kitchen or a food place where people might come and have a Thanksgiving meal. And many families say, you know what, we should go down to a food kitchen where people who are less fortunate, who really don't have anything, who are looking for assistance, maybe we could go help them. Sometimes it's on Thanksgiving Day, sometimes the night before, but that's something that's really important, that I think a lesson of Thanksgiving is to not only just say, yes, we're grateful for the good things in our lives, but we can also say, how can we help other people because we're grateful for this.
Mulțumim! Aici, în Republica Moldova, pe lângă Ziua Recunoștinței, care poate sunt acele sărbători pe care de asemenea le celebrați? Vorbim?
Oh my gosh, there are so many fun things here. I have to say, I enjoy every holiday because I love holidays. I go overboard on holidays. As you can see, I have lots of holiday decorations and I love them. But I think my favorite holiday here is Martișor. It's everybody enjoys it. I love the tradition of pinning the pin on each other. It's a festive, happy thing, and people, you can do it to you pin people you don't even know. I love that. I think that's a really great holiday, so I enjoy that one myself.
Sărbătorile vine poate și cu timp liber pentru ambasadorul Statelor Unite în Republica Moldova și dacă da, ce face ambasadorul Statelor Unite în timpul lui liber?
I wish I had more free time. Let's start with that. But one thing we really enjoy doing here is getting to get out to meet people and see different parts of Moldova. We've been so lucky to visit some of the more beautiful places that you can see, some of the historical places, some of the beautiful monasteries, some of just walking around in the countryside, hiking, taking our dog out for a long walk, going to some of the wonderful small wineries that are now all through the Republic of Moldova. But that's really how we enjoy spending our free time. We also enjoy just getting around Chișinău to the various neighborhoods, to the various different parts of the city, not only in the parks, but just walking in the streets and enjoying it. So that's really how I try to spend the free time that I have.
Mulțumim, dar dumneavoastră?
Well, we do almost everything together because we like to spend our time together. But when he's working and not here, I tend to do things like bake cookies, and I do a lot of cooking because I love to cook. The other thing I really, really love to do is garden. In the summertime, too bad it's cold because you could have seen all of the vegetables and flowers I was growing in our garden this summer because I love to do that.
I was going to say, and Michelle's also working virtually in the United States, so she has this part-time job as well. So she stays pretty busy.
Așa. Ce regăsim pe masa unui american clasic de Ziua Recunoștinței?
For Thanksgiving, there's your turkey, right?
It's turkey. You got to have a turkey on the table. It's interesting. The very, very traditional meal is turkey with mashed potatoes and gravy. There's stuffing, which is a bread pudding that you stick inside the turkey. There are corn. You usually have corn and beans. Every family, though, has its own special traditional dishes that have to be on the table, and each family might have a different one. But what's great about the United States is we come from many different countries overseas to make the United States. So if your family is from Latin America, you might have Latin American type foods on your table. If your family is from Europe, you might have something Central European on the table. We had pierogi on our table because my family is from Central Europe. So if you're African American, you might have very different foods than if it was our table. But any food is good as long as you share it with others and you've made it yourself. That's the tradition.
Dacă poate revenim la felul în care v-ați adaptat atunci când ați venit în Republica Moldova, care sunt acele aspecte poate care v-au surprins cel mai mult în Republica Moldova și cum ați abordat aceste diferențe culturale?
Oh, goodness. I don't think we found big differences. We felt so at home here right away with people. I think what we found is that people are able here to stay in perhaps a little bit closer touch with their family members because the distances aren't too far. So often we talked to friends who've spent time with their parents or their grandparents in the village, who've gone home to check things out, who spend every few weeks going back and forth. Sometimes in the United States, because we all live much farther apart from each other, it's harder to spend so much time together. So that was one cultural surprise at how important the family is all the time. We were also surprised in some ways that everyone in Moldova is connected to everyone else. So
It's true.
each time we meet someone, they say, oh, you must have met my cousin. You must have met my mother. You probably met my niece. Sometimes these are funny things for us because, again,
Even in the United States.
Yes.
We've been to things in the US and Moldovans will say, oh, you know, my cousin is so-and-so who works with you in such and such. It's amazing how close people are here.
We had a great, a fun story of a small town story with the pumpkins. We went to Bostonada to the pumpkin festival this year, which was great fun. I had a picture taken with the grower of the largest
pumpkin,
which was from the United States. He bought the seeds there and he grew them there. We posted a picture of, on the site. It was great. We went walking. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. And it was one of the ministers in the government who was saying, hey, that was my brother who grew the pumpkin. I saw a picture of you with him. And so that's been a very nice surprise.
Moldova is a small town.
Yes.
Everybody's close together.
And in a positive way.
Yeah, it's
so
nice.
That's been fun.
Din ceea ce povestiți, din dialogul pe care îl avem, reiese că aveți multe momente poate de colecționat aici în Republica Moldova și fiecare zi vine cu emoția sa. În această zi de Ziua Recunoștinței, ce mesaj ați avea pentru cetățenii Republicii Moldova pentru anul acesta, în 2023, care, iată, poate se apropie de sfârșit, un an plin de crize. Nimeni nu spune că și 24, bănuim că va fi la fel de plin de provocări, dar care este emoția sărbătorii, cea de unitate pe care încercăm să o simțim de obicei de Ziua Recunoștinței și pe care încercăm să o transmitem astăzi?
A message to Moldovans on Thanksgiving Day is first and foremost thank you to the people of Moldova for all the great things that you've done to take control of your own destiny, to think about your own future, and starting with the refugees coming to Moldova, that we were here just a few weeks when Russia's terrible war in Ukraine began. We watched people open their homes. We watched people drive to the border. So we have seen this over the last 2 years, this amazing momentum as Moldovans have really thought about what the future should be. Not only how they take care of each other, but what a future as a Moldovan would look like. So we've been so excited, as I mentioned, to see some of the European Union changes. We've been excited to see people come out in support of a European future. The United States has been excited to find ways that we can continue to support this movement. So I think my message to people is to keep on going, keep going forward, keep thinking about the West and being a part of the community of democratic nations. We're so happy that Moldova and the United States are working together in this direction, and we're grateful for the partnership. None of the things that we are able to do here could happen without our partners, the Moldovan people and the Moldovan government. And we've been very, very excited to work together. So we're grateful for that as I think about this Thanksgiving Day. In 2024, as you think about going forward for the next year, I hope that we will continue to work together. I know we'll continue to be great partners, and we look forward to many, many more successes. And when we meet challenges, we'll overcome them together.
Cum reușiți de fiecare dată să îmbrățișați această provocare de a merge poate într-o țară nouă, într-o destinație nouă, dar de fiecare dată împreună? Care este provocarea pentru familie, dacă există o provocare?
So we have been working as diplomats now for more than 30 years. We often told our children, we have 2 children who've grown up in this life, who've grown up in overseas life, who've grown up moving every few years. We always teased them a little bit to say, sorry, you're living the life that when we were children and living in one place, in one town, we didn't have. We didn't travel as much. Our parents lived in one place and worked, and we had not had this international experience, so that was our teasing of them. But it is a challenge. It is a challenge sometimes to be far away from family and friends. We certainly miss some family events, as again, I just talked about how important it is in Moldova to join weddings, to join births and christenings and baptisms. These are all important things, and sometimes we're not able to do that. Our children, though, have learned to be very resilient. We have 2 children who are now in their 20s, and they're pretty nice adults. good human beings, and they're very international. They've grown up in different countries. They've had to move every few years and change schools and change friends. They're very adaptable, young adults, and they have learned a lot. Sometimes we laugh a little bit about life in America when we might have said, oh, if you want to study the culture of Egypt, you would go to a museum to see important relics of Egypt. When our children were studying Egypt, we flew to Egypt to study Egyptian things because they saw those kinds of experiences. They understand so much about the world. The other thing I think as international individuals, as diplomats and as our children have found, is you also learn a lot about yourself and about your own country when you live in another culture. You understand what you appreciate about your own culture, but your mind is also very open and broadened, and you're thinking about what interesting things I'm learning in a different culture, how does that affect me in my culture, and how might I want to think about how I change how I live in my culture. So we think that our children, and frankly both of us, have learned so much in this career.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And I mean, there are difficulties, as you said. We miss birthdays, for example, or that kind of thing. And I do have to admit, it is no fun packing up everything you own every 3 years into boxes and moving them and hoping that they get to the other place without breaking everything. But we've been pretty lucky, not too bad so far. And the thing that's changed, though, in the 35 years, when we first started, there was no internet. The telephone was very expensive. It cost a lot of money to make one phone call. You had to write letters. They took weeks to get to places. Now I can phone my parents on my iPad and see them, and they can see me. And you have a much easier way to keep in touch with people, which makes this kind of peripatetic life a little bit easier.
Yeah, and our children especially have been able to keep in close touch with friends they've had. Oh, that's my friend from our time in Georgia. That's our friend from our time in Ukraine. So it's nice. That's another nice thing.
Dar cum reușiți de fiecare dată să duceți cu dumneavoastră împreună acest spirit de acasă? Culturile sunt diferite, regiunile sunt diferite, destinațiile sunt diferite, oamenii sunt diferiți. Totuși, cum ați reușit să duceți spiritul de acasă în toate aceste puncte?
I think you're exactly right. You have to create your own home wherever you go. We have a few tricks. We like to take things like small pictures, and as soon as we go to somewhere else, we put our pictures out.
Yeah. You have to have photographs
things
of all your family and your friends everywhere.
You want it to feel like home very quickly, and we try to put pictures around. We try to bring silly things, a favorite sugar bowl that's always on the table, so you always know when it sits on the table, you're home. You always maybe look for a special teapot to serve people. You're like, that's so we're home now. And our children would look for those things, but so do we. So we found it a really nice thing. So we always are traveling with a few things to make it immediately home. And that's a nice part of this lifestyle, because you realize that it's not really about your possessions. It's not really about how big your house is. It's about feeling at home and building a home wherever you are.
Dar având acest stil de viață, cât de provocator este de asemenea să legați prietenii?
You know, it has not been, but we're very extroverted people.
If you're extroverted, it's easier. Those of us who are extroverted, because we like people. We like being with people. We like getting to know people. We like spending time. We like learning about other cultures and asking questions about what the traditions and the history. The first thing we did when we got here was we went and took a historical tour of Chisinau, just to get a sense of who we were, where we were, and what it was all about. And we just like meeting people. So for us, it's not difficult. And in places like Moldova, where people are super friendly, it makes it very easy to get to know them.
People here are so eager to communicate, and it's really fun because we've been practicing Limba Romina. We can practice, we can speak Gavri Paruski, and that also helps us if we need to communicate. I always struck if you can't get through one language, people in Moldova say, what language do you speak? Let's
I've actually had Moldovans try to speak German to me.
That's great.
Because they spoke really good German, and I can speak German, and so we spoke in German, you know, whatever language works.
So that's been fun for making friends. But we've been really grateful how interested people are who we meet here in Americans in the United States. Many have relatives or friends in the United States. That's a nice connection. And so we often will find someone who will come up to us at an event or at a party or at a dinner and say, my brother lives in Chicago. And we'll say, where? And it's a great way to connect with people right away.
Ce știați, ce cunoșteați despre Republica Moldova până ajunge aici?
Well, we have spent much of our career, so Michelle was also a diplomat before she retired. I've been a diplomat together with Michelle in this region for many, many years. So we knew a lot about the countries, excuse me, of the former Soviet Union. We have worked together in Kazakhstan, we've worked together in Ukraine, we've worked together in Georgia. We've worked on issues about this region in Washington.
Yeah.
What we've found is that we knew a fair amount about Moldova as part of a former Soviet space, but what we didn't know was actually how unique in many ways Moldova is. It's a country that has its own rich traditions, it has a rich history. It, of course, has a history that goes back many, many, many centuries, as we can learn.
We learned a lot about Stefan cel Mare when we were studying Romanian.
That was very important. And we learned about the history of the region. So, of course, Moldova has many, many connections. Let's go back to the Ottoman Empire and Turkey, of course through the Russian Empire in times. There's been the connections to Romania. So there are many, many different connections here, and I think that was the surprise for us. So we knew a fair amount about the region, but we really have been so excited to learn about the specific culture and history of the Republic of Moldova.
Cât de mult se aseamănă, vă întrebăm din curiozitate, stilul de viață de diplomat cu ceea ce vedem noi în serialele americane?
Well, as you know, most films like to make things a little more exciting than they really are. So, do we go to a lot of parties? Yes, because we go to things like people's national days and to congratulate them on national days. So yes, there are events like that, but mostly it's a job just like any other job. What's unique about it, I think, is that we really get to communicate and learn about other cultures. And in the films, I don't think they really show that. I don't think they show how we live in another country and get to know that other country. I think usually the films that show diplomats, it's either people are running around trying to solve some big problem or they're just drinking champagne. And I think it's different than that.
We do try to solve a lot of problems. We do work very hard. And that's, I think, what people miss sometimes in the life of a diplomat. But it's also a great responsibility because you are taking on important policy issues and you're working for your country. You're also working to run a good team and make sure that you have a good embassy. But it's also an incredible honor to be a diplomat because you're representing your country. You are the person who the President of the United States has sent to a country to represent not only the government, but also the people of the United States. And so in addition to this responsibility, it's also a great honor. And so it was a very exciting moment for me to be nominated. Then really it's a family event when we're all representing the United States here. And so that's been a great honor as well. So I think that also doesn't sometimes come through in the movies and the films about diplomats. So I think it's really, again, been a great honor to be here and to continue working here. And we've not only made progress, but I think we have a lot of things still to do ahead, and I'm looking forward to that.
Ce așteptări aveți de la Republica Moldova pentru acest an 2024?
Well, I am very optimistic and positive. It's a great winter already beginning because we know the government of Moldova has done a very good job working closely with us and other international partners to prepare for this winter. It's an amazing situation. We think of just 2 years ago, the Republic of Moldova was almost 100% dependent on energy from Russia. and that is almost completely changed. I think people go forward with an optimism, thinking about the European Union, thinking about the support that we hope very much in the next few weeks we're going to see a decision by the European Union member countries to begin accession discussions. So that's also a positive for 2024. And I think we're going to continue to see the strength of the US-Moldovan relationship continue to grow. And the great part is it's not just in one sector. Our relationship in the past years has become ever broader, ever deeper in the areas we've been working. So whether we're talking about education and helping the IT industry, whether we're talking about business and helping with customs and trying to help people cross borders more easily and goods crossing borders more easily, whether we're talking about energy and supporting new energy infrastructure that will continue to tie Moldova closer to the European Union, whether we're talking about our security cooperation, its closeness with the military, the army of the Republic of Moldova that's also trying to reform, whether we're talking about anti-corruption and democratic reforms. These are all areas that we are partners in together. And I'm very optimistic that in 2024 we're going to continue to see this kind of progress, and it's going to be a year with a lot of great results.
Să fie într-adevăr poate pe această notă optimistă și să avem rezultate frumoase de la această prietenie. Vă mulțumim mult pentru dialog și deschidere și emoția Zilei Recunoștințe pentru telespectatorii TVR Moldova.
Mulțumesc!
Doamnelor, domnilor, de asemenea, vă mulțumim pentru atenție. Rămâneți cu TVR Moldova, să aveți o zi frumoasă. La revedere!